light in you. But I see the daylight breaking through. Yeah, when there's no more strength to carry on, I know the storm will soon be gone. And someday we'll be on the other side. It won't be long. It won't be long. Change will come. Yeah. It's gonna rise like the sun. Yeah. Change will come. Yeah. I know that it won't be long. Yeah. The change is gonna come. Yeah. The change is gonna come. Yeah. It feels like it's gonna take some work. Yeah. To mend all this pain, to heal the hurt. Yeah. When it feels like the battle will never be won, we'll find the power to overcome. And someday we'll be on the other side. It won't be long. It won't be long. Change gonna come. Change is coming. I see it change. I rise like the sun. Yeah, change. Change is gonna come. Change is change. You know that it won't be long. Yeah. The change is gonna come. Yeah. Change is gonna. The change is gonna come. Yeah. And someday we'll be on the other side. It won't be long. It won't be long. Your change will come. Yeah. It's gonna rise like the sun. Yeah. Your change will come. Yeah. You know that it won't be long. Yeah. The change is gonna come. The change is gonna come. Change gonna come. Change. The change is gonna come. Change gonna come. Change gonna come. The change is gonna come. The change is gonna come.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back back and the stars fill the night. That's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy water.
Good evening. I'm Jeanne Morrison, President of Amplify POC Cape Cod's Board of Directors. Welcome to Amplify POC's first annual meeting. Honored guests, speakers, Board of Directors, and colleagues from the business community and all community members, thank you for joining us tonight. Amplify POC has been a very busy organization, very visible and engaged in the community, addressing the needs of people of color across Cape Cod and beyond, while contributing to the community at large. We're grateful to have you here with us tonight. We have much to share about our work, our accomplishments, and our relationships that we have built in the community. First, I'd like to call your attention to our humble beginnings. None of this would have been realized or even begun without Vargas Wallace, our founding board member and CEO of the organization. In response to the call of people across the Cape Cod community and a desire to help each other after seeing the horror of George Floyd's public display of his murder in May of 2022, and the outrage exhibited by the national Black Lives Matter movement, Tara had the fortitude and insight to answer the call, whether it be those crying out in pain, those astonished or woke, or those desperately seeking ways to help Black-owned businesses. People wanted to do something to contribute. As we marched and asked, does anyone have a list of businesses to support? Tara realized a list did not exist and began writing one. However, the stronger the demand for the list became, she quickly realized just a list wouldn't do. Thus, here we are today with Amplify POC Cape Cod. An astute and apt learner, Tara set out on a course that you find us on. In 2.5 years, she's taken a list of POC-owned businesses on Cape Cod with her founding board and turned it into a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to help amplify communities of color and businesses owned by people of color and meet the challenges of racial injustice and inequities on Cape Cod and beyond. In Tara's own words, we exist to help eliminate the racial gap and create opportunities for our communities of color to build generational wealth. Our programs and services are designed to make sure that communities of color are not just sustained, but are thriving and successful. I am pleased and honored to introduce Amplify POC Cape Cod's founder, president, and CEO, Tara Vargas Wallace, who I affectionately call my little sister. She is a social justice advocate and racial justice activist. A Puerto Rican woman married to a Black man and mother of 3 promising Black, beautiful Latino children. She's a board member of Cape Cod Young Professionals, NAACP Cape Cod Housing Assistance Corporation, and Cape Cod People Against Trafficking Humans, as well as the Eastern Region Political and Civic Leadership Platform Coordinator for Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. Tara.
Thank you, Jeanne. So honored to have and humbled to have you all choosing to be with us and enjoying the night with us tonight. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker tonight, Celia Blue, visionary, founding member, CEO, and president of Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. Please bear with me while I share my screen. Celia Blue. In 2015, Celia collaborated with 12 women of color from across Massachusetts and led the development and public launch of the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition. In her current role as president and CEO, visionary, and founding member, she is leading the organization to realize its vision and mission, overseeing the day-to-day operations while strongly advocating for the voices of women of color to be heard, addressing the inequities that are present in every aspect of our lives, where we live, work, and play. Celia Johnson Blue was the interim director of the Rhode Island Department of Human Services, a cabinet-level position reporting to Governor McKee. Interim director, Blue oversaw approximately 1,000 employees in multiple divisions with a budget of over $900 million, providing benefits and services to approximately 300,000 of 1/3 of Rhode Island's population. She oversaw many partnerships and collaborations. Prior to being appointed as interim director, Blue served as former chief of staff and deputy director of DHS for over 4 years. Blue was also DHS chief administrative officer and the executive lead for human resources personnel. She is the former registrar and CEO of motor vehicles for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and is a seasoned executive leader with over 25 years of leadership experience in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Blue is the first African American in Massachusetts history to serve as the registrar for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As registrar, she managed operating and capital budgets totaling $280 million and oversaw approximately 800 employees in 31 locations. Prior to her role in Rhode Island, Celia spent 9 years in the transportation industry in Massachusetts and nationally, gaining experience in multiple modes, aeronautics, rail and transit highway, and the registry of motor vehicles. First appointed as a commissioner for the former Massachusetts Aeronautics Commission, she was later appointed to the position of registrar, CEO, Massachusetts Department of Transportation, and then promoted to the position of registrar, CEO of the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree from Worcester State University and a master's degree in business administration from Anna Maria College. She has received awards for her leadership and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and was recently named in the Power 50 Class of 21 by Worcester Business Journal. Blue sits on the boards of a number of civic community organizations in central and eastern Massachusetts. She currently serves as the former chair of the Abby Kelly Foster Charter Public School District Board of Trustees and Finance Committee member, and she is a board member of the Worcester Regional Research Bureau Board. She is also a board member of the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy Advocacy Board. McCormick Graduate School of Policy and Global Studies, University of Massachusetts, Boston, and the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials Advisory Board, Boston chapter. In addition, Blue is a corporator for Girls Inc. Worcester and the YMCA of Central Mass. It's my pleasure, Celia Blue.
Thank you so much, Tara, for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. just want to say thank you for all of you that are here with us today. It is my pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you, Tara, for inviting me. And I want to pay my respect to Jeanne Morrison, the president of the board, and all of the board of directors, and all of the supporters in the business community and members of this great organization. I have to tell you that I prepared a speech for some time, and when I reread it this weekend, just wasn't happy with it, so I ripped it up. So who knows what you're going to get from me tonight? I hope you find some humor in that. But anyway, it was all about a lot of data, and I said, no, I really don't want to do that. I want to speak a little bit more from the heart with you all tonight, and I hope that that I'm not going to bore you to tears this evening. I'll share a little bit about my background and why I am just so passionate about the work that Amplify POC is doing, as well as the work that MAWOC is doing, because I think it is absolutely important for us to be in this space together. My family's from Jamaica, the land of the Taino people. Although it is a small island, it's one of the larger islands in the Caribbean, West Indies. We migrated to this country when I was 11 and a half years old. I now live in Worcester, the land of the Nipmuc people, with my husband and daughter. I remember my time in Jamaica very vividly. It was a beautiful time in my life. My parents were strong members of the community, and it was truly a village. We looked after each other. I felt very loved, not only by my parents, but by my community. Adults could reprimand any one of us when we got out of line. And we shared generously. It would not be unusual for me to go to my neighbor to get sugar or flour or whatever it is we needed that day. We came from very humble beginnings that was rich in love, and we had fun together. As a young girl, I look forward to getting my cousin's used clothes from the United States, but was raised to still believe in the possibilities. And so a lot of what I'm going to talk to us about tonight is really being open, love, solidarity, commitment to our communities, and being open to possibilities. It might sound cliche, but I was raised to believe that the sky is truly the limit. And that has been what has helped to shape me as a person as I am today. While Jamaica is a mixture of people from different races and ethnicities, we identified as Jamaican, which was different when I came to the US. The folks sometimes say, well, I'm Italian American. And for us in Jamaica, it didn't matter what race, what ethnicity, what gender, we just all said we were Jamaicans. So that was really different for me to get used to. I experienced the ugliness of racism, and quite frankly, still do today in subtle ways. But I also experienced the beauty of acceptance and of friendship by others. Navigating my life through the US has been a challenge, to say the least. I have the scars to prove it. It was through my experience of dealing with racism, the stereotypes, the biasness, and being in spaces when I was generally one of the only people of color, or the only person of color, that God placed a vision on my heart to create a safe space for women of color and girls of color, starting here in Massachusetts. And sharing this vision with a longtime friend, she invited me to a breakfast that Brenda Jenkins was hosting in Worcester, Massachusetts. She was bringing women of color together in Worcester, and has been an organizer for over 40 years. I was so blessed to meet her. She's also the co-visionary and founding member of MAWOC. I spoke with other founding members that day who were all in, and ultimately 11 women of color across the Commonwealth volunteered and gave her time to help create MAWOC. Fast forward today, we're 7 years in, we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. And our members are women of color and girls of color starting in 9th grade. When I led this work, I was working full-time as a public official. Just to share a bit about me and my journey, I have, as Tara mentioned, I have 25 years of professional leadership experience. Most of my leadership experience has been in executive level and senior level roles. I started in the private sector and the financial services industries, where I led profit and loss responsibilities, including leading 4 small businesses. And just before I left the private sector, I was in a corporate role in which I led 16 lines of businesses across 16 states and led a team in 2 different states. It was during that time that I started to get a bit restless. I stepped up my game in the nonprofit and gave back to the community and organization, but I really had a stirring desire to do more beyond what I was currently doing for bringing in millions of dollars for corporations. And I really wanted to make a positive and significant difference on a broader scale. And I was also really inspired by Governor Deval Patrick and decided that I would join the public sector, didn't know how, and have the opportunity to work for someone who looked like me. As most of you know, Governor Patrick made history by becoming the 2nd elected African-American governor in the history of the United States. And I have to give one of my mentors, Darnell Williams, the credit for hearing my desire and for making it possible for me to meet with Governor Patrick and his team. Sorry about that. But it really, the joke that we have about that is that before I could even meet Governor Patrick, his staff began recruiting me. And it was with those relationships that started the conversation. And for my opportunity to join his administration was a bit long, was different than I expected. And when I was offered the opportunity to be in his administration, I was presented with the opportunity to be a commission in the Aeronautics Commission. I initially thought it was a joke because I don't have airport experience. I don't have engineering experience, but that was not who they were looking for. As they explained it to me, they were looking for a leader. They had subject matter experts. I would have subject matter experts around me. And they were looking for a leader, especially a leader who had an airport in their communities to help with making those types of decisions. So I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I was open to the possibilities of being in the transportation space where I, at that point, did not have any experience. But I said, if I want to really, I was open, right? So I stepped into the role. I really questioned myself after I started, especially when I was getting briefed for public relations, for press relations, and understanding that all of our meetings were going to be public, which means anybody, the press, everybody was invited. But after a while, it just became just a wonderful experience. I was able to lead a public committee where I worked with my colleagues, the staff, all the managers of the airports, besides Logan Airport was under our purview, and Hanscom. Logan and Hanscom were not in our purview. And we were able to create a new policy, also working with the FAA, and was able to make an impact with the local share that was being provided dollars-wise for these airports in our community. And here in Worcester, some direct impacts where we extended our runway. And I have to tell you now, JetBlue has been in our space, which was not there many years ago. So when I saw how you could make that kind of an impact, I just was really inspired to continue to work and to do my part. And I was able to be appointed as the deputy registrar at that time, went into the transportation space full blown, and then also became assistant secretary. And then later my promotion as the registrar, never imagining that I was also going to be part of the history in the state. It was a humbling experience, and it was really an experience of a lifetime. That led me to Rhode Island, to Governor Raimondo, whom I also admired very much as a leader that has made a lot of changes, positive changes in Rhode Island. and I became the chief of staff there. And actually at that time, now President Biden was vice president at the time and helped to oversee one of his visits to Rhode Island, which was an absolute honor. I thought I was going to remain in transportation, but then I was recruited to be in the Department of Human Services. And here again, I said, oh, wait a minute, guys. I don't have any experience in human services. And they said, we want a leader to go over and be a part of this task force at the time. And there were multiple issues happening. I stepped in that role, and little did I know that my journey would then lead to become a cabinet level role. And so during that time, I was working in launch in Maywalk, and I can tell you now that I'm doing this role full time and been blessed by the Esler Family Foundation, who has contributed to our organization so that I could be in this role full time and to build the organization from here. Our mission and Amplify's are very similar in that we are working to address the inequities together. We in Maywalk, as we fondly call ourselves, are focused on women of color and girls of color, and ultimately our communities of color. And with Amplify, this commitment to eliminating racial wealth gap, and by removing these barriers, I'm looking at your mission statement, where you're removing barriers created by systemic racism. We also talk about structural and institutional racism, and both have the words race equity in our missions as well. And I have to say that this work that we're both doing is incredibly important. So why does our work matter, right? I could give you a bunch of data, and I started to go down that path, but I've just picked a few things. We know inequities exist. That's created by institutional and structural racism. We know that, as a matter of fact, with COVID-19, it has widened in those gaps, and COVID-19 has shed a light to further exacerbating the inequities that we face. And I'll just focus on just a few examples. The Boston Globe article in July 22, the title of it was this: Gender Wage Gap Widened After State Passed Equal Pay Law in 2016. An updated Massachusetts Equal Pay Act went into effect on July 1st, 2018. In 1945, Massachusetts became the first state in the country to pass an equal pay law, but the gender pay gap persists here and across the country. The new Massachusetts Equal Pay prohibits wage discrimination based on gender, which basically says we shall all get paid the same amount of money for the same work. When we look at the data, and according to the Center for American Progress, women may earn 77 to every dollar a white man makes. When we look at women of color, it is further less. Hispanic women have the largest gap at 57 cents, Native Americans 60 cents, and Black women 64 cents, just to name a few. When we look at a recent study on college graduates, mainly Black females hold 2/3 of college student debt. So now we have the degree, and we are doing our part to make sure that we can earn a decent pay, right? And then so we enter the workplace, and then we're getting paid less. This is when we talk about systemic, when we talk about institution, and when we say the systems are not set up for us, this is an example of that, right? If you do your part, you get your degree, you going into the workplace, you expect to be paid the same, but that's not, the reality is that is still not happening in our state and in our country. With regards to business stats, and according to the Supplier Diversity Office Comprehensive's annual report for fiscal year 2021 under Governor Baker's administration, discretionary spending alone for 9 secretariats was $5.7 billion. and $505 million went to BIPOC businesses. Let me say that again. 5.7 billion was paid out and only 505 million went to BIPOC businesses. And that is supposed to be equate to a good faith effort? I don't think so. In regards to the racial wealth gap in Boston, there's a report out that Black family wealth, $8, while white families' wealth is at $250,000. So to me, while these are just a few examples, it's pretty clear why we need an amplified POC and MAWOC. And what must we do? So here's where I'm going to be a little preachy. So I'm going to warn you first. We must stand in solidarity with each other, in love and solidarity with each other. And I like to use the words also love, grace, respect, and community. The first thing I think we need to focus on is how we treat each other. Love is a powerful thing. We must first focus on our hearts and our intent and how we treat each other and must treat each other with respect and grace. We must be ready to accept each other, how we show up, because especially for communities of color, we are dealing with so many different issues and we don't always show up as our best self, but we should accept each other as we show up and show each other love and respect and grace, and build a kind of community that finds joy in who we are as a people. We must also stand in solidarity and holding our public officials accountable for doing much more. No longer should we be okay with incremental changes and getting the crumbs from the pie. We should be receiving a larger piece of the pie, and we must not rest. We must keep our foot on the gas pedal, even when we start to see progress, because we know that it's take hundreds of years of structural and racism, and it's going to take a lot of work and continuous effort to address this. And as soon as we start making progress, we know, and I'll say this, the haters come along and begin to dismantle the progress that has been made. We are seeing that playing out in multiple ways. The Roe versus Wade decision, the dismantling of the Voting Rights Acts, the dismantling of the Civil Rights Act. We must wake up. One of the ways in which we stand in solidarity also is when we are at tables of influence or where decisions are being made and we do not see Black and Brown or Indigenous or marginalized communities, that they're not being represented. We must call that out. And we must be sure that we're inviting them at the next meeting. We are so much stronger together, and there's so much more that we can do together. By working together, we can push for legislative changes and policy changes that can address these inequities. While pushing for these changes, I'm going to stress again that we continue to hold our elected and appointed officials accountable for making sure that this happens. No more time for talk. We must be part of the solution, and we must push for a larger piece of the pie. And I'm going to say this again, we are much stronger together. All of us are allies, supporters, all on the same page, pushing forward. As I mentioned before, or maybe I didn't mention this before, but this is a multifaceted problem. And here are some additional ways in which we can address this. The Center for American Progress has a ton of reporting and some recommendations on this, and I took some of them as I believe in them and wanted to share that with you. We need Congress and state legislators to act on the following, which is called the Paycheck Fairness Act. To begin to close these gender wages gaps, Congress, the Biden administration, and other policymakers must take strong concerted action to promote equal pay. Congress must finally pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which is a long overdue legislation that will strengthen existing protections and further combat discriminatory practice. The White House Equal Pay task force reinstated federal pay data collection efforts and more. So one of the recommendation is to reinstate the White House Equal Pay Task Force. Meanwhile, state and local leaders must continue to lead the way with progressive actions on equal pay, including but not limited to the laws that require employers to post salary ranges for job openings. Here in Massachusetts, passed the wage transparency bill, where companies disclose the rate of pay data. Get on boards and commission. All of us can get on boards and commission to help influence policies and decisions that are made in our communities. Pass the parity in board legislation, which mandates boards and commission reflects our diverse communities and gender parity. And pass comprehensive childcare reform to make it more affordable and pay childcare providers the fair and equitable pay. And my piece in terms of the business is that we need to be advocating that more of our businesses of color are getting more awards. And so that's part of the things that I think we can do to make a difference. As I conclude my remarks tonight, I am also a PhD student, and I was in a recent class where I learned about Barbara McIntosh, who is an American scientist and who was awarded the 1983 Nobel Prize in Physiology, Medicine. And her biographer described her body's work as the highest form of love, intimacy that did not annihilate differences. And I was really struck by that sentence. I said, wow, what if we as human beings practice that same kind of love? That we did not annihilate our differences, how much better would our world be today? So I conclude my remarks this evening by challenging us to believe in the power of love, solidarity, community, and being open to the possibilities. Thank you again for your time and your attention, and I look forward to working with you to create a more inclusive Commonwealth.
Wow. Thank you, Celia. Solidarity, love, grace, respect, and community. Powerful stuff. Thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you for being in community with us tonight. Okay, so next I'm going to share my screen and report my annual report. So just please bear with me. Celia, if you would shut your video off and sound, please. Thank you. So welcome tonight to Amplify POC's annual meeting. I thank you again. I humbly thank you all for taking the time to be with us tonight. I'm going to quickly go over our agenda. As you already know, Jeanne Morrison, our board president, welcomed us with introductions and opening remarks. Celia Blue was our fabulous keynote speaker. I am the founder and CEO, and I will be giving my annual report tonight and showing you all of the wonderful work that Amplify has been doing and what we have in store for the future. And then we are going to have an amazing, inspirational spoken word artist, Tamora Isreal, who is not only just amazing, she's my friend and dear colleague, and I'm so grateful to have her with us tonight to share with you some of her beautiful work. And then Jeanne Morrison, our board president, will come back with closing remarks. Some information about Amplify. So Amplify, as Jeanne gave us a little bit of information already, it started as a passion project in May of 2020 after the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others. It was initially founded to promote businesses and became an official nonprofit in July of 2021. after we decided, we had launched our first initiative, which was a directory of businesses owned by people of color. We then went into hiring and acquiring a strategic plan consultant by the name of Martha R.A. Fields from Okimi LLC, who helped us create our very first initial strategic plan. It currently only has one part-time staff, and that is me. I also work another full-time job. Our annual budget is $152K. And as mentioned before, our organization is dedicated to eradicating the racial wealth gap and fostering ownership in communities of color. Our mission and vision. So our vision is we envision an end to the racial wealth gap on Cape Cod and beyond, where communities of color have economic power, increased ownership, and wealth building opportunities in just and equitable ways. Our mission, Amplify POC, is committed to eliminating the racial wealth gap, which are disparities in wealth and income across race and ethnicity, by removing barriers created by systemic racism. We promote racial equity by providing accessible resources and education that enhance visibility and increase sustainable ownership opportunities that impact communities of color. Our first initiative prior to obtaining our 501c3 was just an online directory where we were able to, start a list of businesses locally owned by people of color. And you can access that online directory at amplifiedpocCapeCod.com. A lot of people will ask us, why it's .com and not .org, and that is because when we initially started, we were not yet a 501c3 nonprofit. One of our next initiatives, which is included in our services, is we highlight entrepreneurs on a monthly basis. And as you can see here, Daylani Long, owner of Fur Babies Pet Care, was last month's spotlight. And when we highlight our local businesses of color, they are highlighted and amplified not only on our website, but also all over our social media pages as well. And these are all our own photos that I'm going to show you tonight. None of these are obtained through the internet. These are Amplify's photos. The people in these photos are very real. They're part of our membership. They're all included in the Amplify community. Another service that we provide is we organize and produce vendor markets to highlight and bring awareness and increase patronage to our local businesses of color. And this picture was taken of Maxine Lorenzo Designs at our last holiday vendor market last month. If you were there, you must have really enjoyed it. We've heard lots of great things. And here we are. We've got another picture of Naticia, who owns Mini Me Boutique, and Amanda Converse, who is our board treasurer, and her fiance, Ian. Another service that we provide is advocacy. So we advocate on a legislative level on racial justice issues, social justice issues, small business support, housing advocacy. All of us sit on several boards and committees. We also advocate at town meeting and promote and encourage our community members to advocate at town meeting. And we do a lot to get out the vote. Another event that we, go back. Oh boy, what did I do? My apologies. We also hold networking events. We call it Boss Talk, where we invite all of our entrepreneurs to come and share best practices and network with each other and support each other. We hold them monthly, and we hold them at a different establishment all across the Cape. This one was held at the Caribbean Lounge in Hyannis. You see here Danny Blake, who is the owner of Glam Designs. And we always ask an entrepreneur to stand up and tell their story and share a little bit of, their triumphs and their success. And it's a great way for people to come together in community and learn and grow with each other. We enjoy these events very much. We also host workshops. So in 2022, we hosted a business planning workshop. We hosted Business 101, financial empowerment, wealth building, nonprofit board leadership training, which we did in collaboration with CLI, and a grant writing workshop. 2023, we intend to host all of those workshops along with, in addition to home ownership, civics and advocacy training, and an access to justice series that we're currently working on with the Massachusetts Bar Association. Our workshops are well attended, and it's another great way to be in community with each other as we learn and grow and support one another. And more recently, as of this month, Amplify is launching our Amplify POC Equity Fund. The purpose of this program is to provide micro grants to POC small businesses, aspiring business owners, aspiring homeowners, and BIPOC students. Thanks to our state senator, Julian Sear, and state representative Kip Diggs, who awarded us a combined total of $110K to help the organization build capacity and launch the Equity Fund, as well as other special funder shout outs, the Cape Cod Foundation, Eastern Bank, the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod, and Cape Cod 5. We are so appreciative of all of this community support. And in honor of John Reed, as part of our Equity Fund, we are, as I mentioned before, going to be launching a scholarship fund, which is going to be one of the pieces to the Equity Fund. And in honor of John Reed, Amplify POC's new scholarship program that is a part, as I said, of the new Equity Fund is named after Mr. Reed to honor his tireless work for the youth and civil rights in our community. Thank you, Mr. Reed. We appreciate all of your years of dedication and hard work for our local people of color youth over the years. And I'm just going to read a little bit of John's bio. John is a fierce human and civil rights advocate who has worked collaboratively with community leaders and legislators for a half a century to identify and address the problems and needs of people of color and the underserved community of Cape Cod. He has bucked the system of oppression and discrimination to advocate for others of all races. He is an educator, mentor, community leader, trailblazer, and inspiration to the countless students he has taught over the years. He has been a leader in the Cape Cod NAACP branch for 25 years, where he currently serves as where he previously served as board president. Jeanne was originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and relocated to Cape Cod in 1973. He taught U.S. history, African American history, social studies, and served as the attendance and equity officer of Barnstable High School from 1973 to 2015. He is well loved by many in the community who have had the pleasure of his stern but loving and caring hand in raising them. And so we've had a number of collaborations and partnerships throughout the past year. Recently, Amplify partnered with SCORE and Isreal and many other wonderful organizations in our community to bring an event called Pitch to Grow to Cape Cod, which put over $13,000 into the hands of local businesses of color and woman-owned businesses. That was fun. It was an honor, and it felt great to be able to put some money into the hands of some folks that really needed it. New partnership most recently is the Arts and Justice Collective. The collective is made up of 4 local mission-driven organizations dedicated to equity and art: Amplify POC, Belonging Books, Cape Cod Voices, and The Cordial Eye. The collective was awarded a $90,000 grant by Mass Development's TDI Creative Catalyst grant program to create an arts and justice hub in Hyannis. The collective will organize, produce, and host art-centric social gatherings to highlight and promote historically excluded communities. And this is a very exciting partnership that we are honored to be a part of. We also have partnerships with Love Live Local with the Business Boost Pilot Program. Oh, there's a typo, sorry about that. Which provides micro grants to small businesses, small local businesses. We have partnerships with the Cordial Eye, Love Live Local, E for All, and Belonging Books on a new program that we're collaborating on called the Creative Futures Program. We're also in partnership with the Cape and Islands Association of Realtors to provide educational programming to Amplify POC community members on how to identify discrimination in the home buying process and how to advocate for yourself when it happens. And more recently, with the Massachusetts Bar Association, we are working on an Access to Justice series, which is still in brainstorm session. It's very new, so I can't really speak much about it, but it is intended to provide education around advocacy on issues like immigration, discrimination in housing, in employment, and in school. In the school systems. And another new partnership is with Maywalk. You know, our fabulous keynote speaker, Celia Blue, owner and CEO and visionary of the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, who you just heard. We're going to be collaborating with them on their economic development platform. And we are very, very excited about all of these partnerships. And last but not least, in partnerships, We Can. We Can is a wonderful organization, very well known on the Cape. And we are collaborating on a collaboration with We Can that will increase access to our respective organizations, resources for BIPOC women, and provide a continuum of services based on individual needs and the unduplicated programs that each of our organizations provide to the community. We are working together in our partnership effort to increase economic stability and opportunities for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women living and working on Cape Cod. And Amplify is highlighting this collaboration with We Can as the perfect example of what an equitable partnership looks like. We Can is setting the precedence of what true allyship looks and acts like among organizations. You know, Lisa Guyon, the executive director, came to me for the first sort of time since, you know, since we've collaborated with an organization, with a deal that I just couldn't resist. And it was, you know, she had offered to go in on a grant with me through the Women's Fund, through the Cape Cod Foundation. And her offer was for each organization to split the funds half and half so that we can do collaborative work together. And that is an example that I just wanted to highlight because we don't normally get offers like that. And so just really setting the precedence in terms of equitable partnerships and what they should look like going forward when we're collaborating with other organizations. So thank you, We Can. And this is not everyone, but this is the Amplify POC team in terms of some of our board members, all volunteers, people that always show up. And they show up when it matters. And again, not everyone, unfortunately, is pictured here. It's hard to get a picture of everyone at the same time. We do our best, but this is a you know, a good size group, and we're very humbled and honored that they choose to dedicate their time and their resources and their energy to our organization and our cause. So thank you, team. Amplify POC financials. So through January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, our total revenue was $152,621. Total expenses, $50K. Net revenue, 102K. My annual salary, 19K a year. And yes, that is not a lot of money. But again, you know, we're not in this for the money, and my board is in fact definitely trying to raise that salary for me. So that is a goal and a plan of theirs, and I do appreciate them for that, because this is a lot of work. Our current Amplify POC founding board members and executive team. So these are the original founding board members, and who also they also make up the executive team. So we have Jeanne Morrison, who you've already met, our board president. Jeanne is also my mentor and my big sister, and I'm so grateful for all of her work and service to the board, and to my own professional development. Sunny Fellman is our recently voted vice president of the board. Amanda Converse, our treasurer, and Amanda Mendes, our secretary. And all of these women have been with Amplify since its existence, which to me says so much. We have had a number of changes with the board over the years, since we started back in 2020. And these are the ladies last standing, and it really means so much to me that that they are all here still currently with us today, and they all hold officer positions. And introducing, so excited for this, introducing our newest Amplify POC new board members, Deborah Dagwan, Dr. Deborah Dagwan, my apologies, former town councilwoman, Beverly Roberts, Dr. Billy Roberts, and Sean Gonzalez. Welcome and thank you. And I'm so looking forward, we're all looking forward to working with all of you going forward. So thank you for being here and for being a part of the Amplify team. And I must pay my respects to our past founding board members, who are all, you know, doing wonderful work still out in the community, and left us for better opportunities. And some of them are still working with us in different ways. They're just not on our board anymore. For instance, Tamora Isreal, you'll see and hear from tonight. We appreciate all of your contributions to the creation and growth of the organization and wish you well in your future endeavors. And now I'm going to show you a quick video. Just bear with me for a minute. Oh boy. So Amplify first started after the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. A lot of community members had reached out to me looking for ways that they could support the Black community. And one of the things that one idea that people really garnered a lot of interest in was supporting businesses owned by people of color. And so I had done a quick Google research to see if there was a local designated list for the Cape Cod area, and I found that there was one for Martha's Vineyard and obviously Boston and even New Bedford, but nothing for specific to the Cape. And so I just started at my kitchen table by creating a list of local businesses owned by people of color, and eventually raised enough funds to put it on a website so that it could be easily accessible by anyone who wanted to patronage and support those businesses.
Thank you for being here today to help out. Appreciate it. Have fun, take care, God bless.
The reason why it's so important to support businesses owned by
people of color, Black and brown folks, is because of the racial wealth gap. I learned that white families are 8 times wealthier than Black families and 5 times wealthier than Latino families, and that this large wealth gap is due to years and years of harmful systemic policies that were put in place many years ago to exclude Black and brown families, and have had a detrimental impact on communities of color being able to build generational wealth. The way to eliminate and eradicate the racial wealth gap is ownership. So whether that's owning a business or a home or land or assets, and really re-strategized on what our purpose is and how we want to make an impact on the Cape. The other important work that we do is we want to empower our people to really inform them with the knowledge and the skills that they need to also be a voice, to give them the tools needed to sit on a nonprofit board and be that voice, and really give the experience of people of color. They think the Cape is just full of old white rich folks, and there are large communities of color that live here. We want to make sure that we are amplifying and supporting and fostering ownership in these communities as much as we can. And we don't have as many resources here. And so I think it's just really important that we really support businesses of color on Cape Cod. There's this thing called wallet activism, and it's where you intentionally spend your money that align with your personal values, and not just the way you spend your money, but the way you earn it and the way you invest in it. Another thing that you can do to be a true ally and support businesses of color is to vote for the candidates who have shown a vested interest in things like racial equity and economic justice. So one of the reasons why Amplify exists is to help you understand all of the different ways that you can be a true ally and really support communities of color.
We can't expect to have healthy, thriving communities with the idea that development of some communities can coexist with the underdevelopment of others. That's how the wealth gap exists today and continues to persist. It's really, really important for all of us to work together. I'm often reminded of a Chinese proverb that says, if you want 1 year of prosperity, grow grain. If you want 10 years of prosperity, grow trees. But if you want 100 years of prosperity, grow people. For me, it's important that we continue to grow people here on the Cape and beyond to ensure the future prosperity of this great community as a whole for generations to come.
Okay, and so next up we have our very inspirational guest speaker, spoken word and poet, Tamora Isreal. I'm sorry, I'm looking for her introduction. Please bear with me here. Where did it go? Stop. Okay, so Tamora Isreal. Tamora is a Long Island, New York native and proud wash ashore. She has been a Cape Cod resident for 15 years and is currently residing in Dennisport, Massachusetts. She is a poet, writer, performer, activist, podcaster, public speaker, graphic designer, photographer, videographer, and entrepreneur. Isreal has showcased her performance style poetry at several open mics on and off Cape. She has hosted and facilitated several public and private events and workshops In 2019, she wrote and filmed a TEDx talk on consent and boundaries in a post-Me Too era in Provincetown. That same year, she acted, wrote, and performed the end credit song for the feature film Get Up 8, directed by Gabrielle Rossum. Isreal is a Cape Cod Community College Theater Program alumni and a proud participant in the college's Be Powerful campaign. From 2019 to 2020, she worked as a part-time video journalist for Cape Media News. From 2021 to 2022, she worked as a news reporter for the Provincetown Banner and the Cape Cod Times. In 2022, she started her own business and is the owner of Communi-T Productions, a multimedia production company that focuses on telling BIPOC and LGBTQIA stories. She is active in the Cape Cod community, serving on several committees and boards, including the Events Committee of Amplify POC, the Internal Affairs Committee of the Core July Gallery and Artist Space, and she is a secretary for the Dennis Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and the Public Relations Officer for Barnstable Sunrise Rotary Club. She co-hosts 2 podcasts, a morning show called Coffee with Teas with Emily Entwistle, and an interview-style show called Craft Tea Podcast with Emily Entwistle and Jameson Horton. You can follow her on Instagram at tisreal83, at Coffee with Tea, or on Facebook at Coffee with Tea and Communi-T Productions. Tamora, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, everybody. What's up? Happy Thursday. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you so much, Amplify POC, Cape Cod, for having me. And it's been a phenomenal event so far, learning so much about the organization and so much they've done. I'm going to read 2 poems for you today, and these poems are inspired by people like Tara, like Sunny, like Jeanne, like Vanna, like Anna, these women who just continue to try to do their best to make things work in their community, and I'm so inspired by them. So I'm going to read 2 poems for you today. One is called Waves, and another one is called Strong Woman. We're going to start with Waves. That one I wrote for people like, as I said, like Amplify POC Cape Cod. And I believe you get knocked down 100 times, get back up 101. So that's kind of what this is about. This is Waves. I see you standing strong, see you taking up space, see you trying to make tomorrow worth it. See you preparing for greatness, but frustrated with the shattered pieces of yesterday self. Be patient with your trauma. See you peeking out from behind the brick wall you forgot not to build. See you falling forward, full body laughing, staying present in the moment. I see the reasons you fought. You have always been enough. See the individual fires, flames fan alive from the embers of doubt. See the lack of direction, there's only one way out. See the sick, slow, thickened moments still on a breath out your mouth. See the strength of your shine. You're a beacon for growth, making so many changes, starting slow with your bold. See you testing the waters, cut the crown to the side. Let these mother suckers know the royalty is alive. See you conquering fears, making deals on the run, strutting past your past, doing trauma work for fun. See you leapfrogging from thoughts to actions, busting ass to turn strides into habits. See, I'm an empath, water sign. Emotion can't hide from me. I'm always laser focused on the atmosphere, can feel every shift in the air. Took a while to figure out how to use it. Was nervous about my power, afraid I'd abuse it. Now, I lean into my purpose, spread love and listen, make intuition like the way on the road of ambition. And I know what it's like to stand on the edge of the world, praying to a higher power that someone would pull you back or call your name. No one should ever have to stand there alone. We see you. Thank you. I'm gonna get a little drink of water because poetry makes me parched. I didn't even plan that. Well, it's funny though. The next poem I'm gonna read, I like this poem because it reminds me of my mom. It reminds me of strong women. It reminds me of the women who get knocked down 100 times and get back up 101. And it is my goal in life to continue to strive to be one of those women and continue to be inspired by them. So this is a poem I wrote. This is Strong Woman. Hi, I'm looking for a woman, a strong woman. I left her not too far from here. I left her near the exploding emotions, but honestly, I figured she could handle it. She's carried her fair share of unpinned grenades, threw them at the enemy, then played hot potato with the remains. She's a professional. She knows how the game is played, the ins and outs. Her expertise is executing plan B, or C, or D, or E. So, where is she? Strong woman, if you can hear me, I've been looking everywhere for you. I want to start with an apology. I asked you to hold the weight of the world like you were popping Tic Tacs. The severity of the ask was lost in the need, but I need you now, strong woman. I need your help. I need the hands that have twirled humanity with her fingertips, the arms that remain open after trust has been broken, the shoulders that have carried tragedies for centuries but never faltered. Strong woman. She's more Lilith than Eve. From cradle to the grave, she was born to lead. She tattooed the S on her chest. Because unlike Superman, there's no phone booth. There's no time to change. The world waits not for her to test her strength. She bobs and weaves when she's in the ring, protects her face, keeps perspective in place while standing at the base of her mountain. She collects herself, looks up, and prays. With each step forward, she's reminded that heart plus endurance minus self-doubt equals great. I don't know. Maybe I'm spending too much time skipping down a yellow brick learning curve. My mind's messed up. I'm lost. Just want to be heard. Strong woman, where you at? When you get this message, hit me back. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Amplify POC Cape Cod, for having us. It's just me, for having me. Thank you, Tara. As always, thank you, Jeanne, and much love and prosperity.
Wow, thank you, Tamora, for gracing us with your gift tonight. That was truly special. I'm just going to finish off with some thank yous, and then I'll hand it over to Jeanne, back over to Jeanne. So I just want to share my gratitude to all of our donors and our sponsors and our grantors. Thank you to all of our volunteers, our partners, our members and collaborators. We could not do this work without you. And I just want to do a special highlight on our racial equity partners, sponsorships of $5,000 or more within 1 year, Housing Assistance Corporation, the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod, Eastern Bank, Cape Cod 5, and also our grantors, Cape Cod Foundation, Eastern Bank Foundation, the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod Healthcare. And now I am going to hand it over to Jeanne Morrison, back over to our board president. Don't forget to follow us on social media and donate, please. We could definitely use your support. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, everyone. Tamora, your talent surpasses my imagination of what I thought you would say. So fantastic job, everyone. I have the fun task of sort of closing us out and summarizing everything that you heard today. And, it's just demonstrates that lots of good work this organization has done in a very short time. And you've seen what we've done in working in partnership with many of you. So I'm very happy and express my appreciation for your being here and allowing the platform for Tara, for Celia, and for Tamora to share with you. And I can just, in summary, I want to attest that Amplify is an organization to reckon with in this community. It's an organization that strives to not only bring attention to the local challenges of injustice and racial disparities that were thrust upon us in the spotlight, during 2020 with George Floyd's murder and the COVID pandemic, that we've also identified and implemented solutions to address those challenges and provide access and some of the resources needed to help the BIPOC community confront the barriers and it simultaneously strive towards better economic power and growth and just in general, thriving lives. We've educated and engaged the larger community in ways to become fairer. We've raised the gavel of accountability for our state and local leadership, whether they be elected officials, appointed officials, or just the personnel that work in our local government or run organizations or serve as employers to our community or support our businesses. We've done more than just have partnerships. We form partnerships that intentionally work towards narrowing the margins of racial inequities in education, in ownership, in healthcare, in employment, in the political and economic power of our community. So reflecting back on tonight's comments and some of the strengths that I captured that Amplify POC has exhibited is not only supporting the economic growth, but we've contributed some themes of some very important things that are difficult to capture in organizations. Humility, daring to realize your dreams, passion to serve and advocacy for people of color, advancing goals despite obstacles and discomfort, challenging the inequities that we face and the systems of oppression, solidarity, love, and leadership, all leading to the progress and improvements to a better life and a better community. Amplify has done that. The highlights of why Amplify matters: well, we educate, we amplify, we showcase, we organize, we partner, we collaborate, we advocate, we engage, we promote, we encourage, we network, and we support. And hopefully, ongoing with the support of the community, economically and in spirit, we fund. Let's come full circle and reflect on who we are. We had humble beginnings, you heard that. Making do with what we had to work with, which basically was what God gave us as individuals. Our respect, our dignity, our diversity, and respect for our community, our compassion for justice. Those have been our driving force. So thank you to all those who have contributed. Our closeness to our communities and partnerships with the BIPOC community in particular have helped us remain ethnic. That's been a very important thing that Tara very well demonstrated, that helps us stand out as a force in the community that can bring a uniqueness of who we are, our authenticity of what we bring to the table. Our members are the real deal, and it's about giving them the platforms to learn, grow, and lead. We've had a lesson in leading by example of what we heard from Celia Blue and what we heard from Tara. And Tara's persona in general, her humble beginnings as a young single mother, new to rural Cape Cod, a new beginning, alone. She found the resources that could help herself thrive, build, and amongst the obstacles and overcome the adversities. What she learned along the way, she passed on to her daughters out of passion, love, and desire for a more enhanced and richer and better life and opportunities for them. That's what you're getting in the authenticity and the humility and humble beginnings of Amplify POC, because that's what's being transferred to others. That humbleness is inherent in our message and our mission, and it's an honor to be part of that. It's the underlying tune we play. But we didn't do it by ourselves. So again, I want to thank all of our board members, all of our sponsors, and more importantly, the community and the support that we get from volunteers, the financial resources from donors and our elected officials. But we need more of all of those things to carry out our mission and sustain our programming, our scholarships, and our business grants. It's going to take all of you, your colleagues, your friends, and families to help us. We can keep ourselves relevant. We know the necessity that of an organization like us. And I just, since we're in the midst of Dr. Martin Luther King, he said something in 1964 in Oslo, Norway, after receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. He said something about the work that we strive to do and what's important amongst the themes of racial justice, nonviolence, resistance, moral and spiritual development. Martin Luther King addressed economic inequality, saying, economic inequality must be addressed and included in any path towards peace and justice, referring to poverty as one of the most urgent themes on the agenda of modern life. That's so relevant 59 years later and so true. So now I'll end with a call for your ongoing support. Let's keep Amplify going and thriving, help spread the word, not only about what we do, but why the work is important, why the work is relevant, what more we're trying to do, and how we'll do it, and how you'll be a part of it. If we've left an impression on you tonight, make a decision to get involved. As Celia said, we're stronger together. Thank you all very much and have a good evening.
I am strong. I am invincible. I am woman. I am I am woman. Hear me roar. And numbers too big to ignore. And I know too much to go back and pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before. And I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. Oh yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I pay the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible. I am woman, I am woman. I am strong, I am invincible. I am woman, You can bend, but you never break me. 'Cause in the end, it serves to make me more determined to achieve my final goal. And I come right back, even stronger. Not a little girl any longer. 'Cause you deepen the conviction in my soul. Oh yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I pay the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible. I am woman, I am woman. You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet.